Good morning, everyone. As Tom said, my name is Father David. I'm a parish priest in New York City. I've been a priest for 3.5 years now, 3 happiest years of my life. If anyone ever tells you cynically that there are no joyful young Catholic priests out there, you tell them false. I met one, and they're all over the place. So, Neil asked me just to tell you briefly about the time that God surprised me with a crash course in Unbound. Unbound first came on my radar screen when I was in the seminary. One of my classmates in the seminary was always carrying the Unbound book with him, and he was always reading it on our breaks. So he told me a tiny bit about what he thought it was, but he didn't know it very well. He invited Neil to speak at our seminary, and Neil came and spoke, and I'm sure he gave a brilliant talk, but I was a half an hour late for it. So I only caught the last couple of minutes of it, and not having heard the first half hour, it didn't make sense to me what I was hearing at the end. So all I knew in the seminary about Unbound was that there was a book, and there was this guy named Neil who gave what must have been a great talk at the seminary. So I got ordained in 2014, and my bishop assigned me to a huge parish, 5,500 families, with lots of problems, lots of dysfunction, hatred, resentment, lots of drug problems, lots of addiction to heroin. And as soon as I started working there, I distinctly, clearly heard a voice in my heart say, "David, you have to go learn Unbound." And I heard it distinctly over and over, and it wouldn't leave me alone. You have to go learn Unbound. And I didn't even know what it was. So I Googled it, and I signed up for the first thing that there was, which was this leadership conference 2 years ago. And I just figured I'm a Christian leader, I'm a priest, and I'm into Unbound, so that qualifies me. But when I came, I felt like a fish out of water, because everybody kept asking me how I use it in my ministry. And I was trying to think of creative ways not to lie, but not to show that I didn't know what I was talking about. So at the end of the leadership conference, a woman took me aside and she just said to me, "You know, you should really just go to a normal Unbound Freedom in Christ conference and just watch a session. When you watch a session, you'll get what it's about." So I did that. I went to the normal Unbound conference a month later, and the Saturday afternoon of that conference, I was allowed to be an intercessor with Janet while Janet prayed before people. And when I think back to that moment, it was really a grace for me. I really felt like a grace descended upon my heart, and everything clicked. As I watched Janet do these sessions, it all made sense. And I walked out of there saying, I think I could do this. And as soon as I got home, a couple days later, a woman came for confession. And I obviously can't tell you anything of what she said, but to me, she seemed like the perfect candidate for Unbound. So I asked her if she'd be willing to read a little bit, and she did, and she came back a few days later, and I was totally green, a total rookie, but I just did what I saw Janet do. I just imitated what I remembered Janet doing. And I remember so distinctly when I finished praying with that woman, I just felt like I was watching a butterfly come out of a cocoon. It was amazing to see even the physical transformation. She came in contorted, and she left almost like skipping or floating with peace on her face. I remember going out to dinner that night with the priest that I lived with. I couldn't even focus on our conversation because I was so excited that it worked. So here's the part that Neil wanted me to share. The month later, and I'm almost done. Okay. He told me 5 minutes, so. Okay. So a month later, I had to go to Rome to take care of some business. And when I'm in Rome, I stay with a group of nuns. I'm not going to say who they were to respect their privacy, but you would know who they are. A big order of nuns, very famous. And I stayed in their convent. So anyway, I stayed in their convent with them the week that they were all making their final vows. There were like 40 or 50 nuns there. They're taking their final vows. And I was saying Mass for them every morning and then going out and working in the city. And one morning after I said Mass, the Mother Superior walked in, and I happened to be reading the Unbound book during this time, and she saw the title. And she said, "Oh, Father, do you do deliverance ministry?" Now, inside of me, I was thinking, well, I did one session once. But I was too proud to say that, so what do you think I said? I said, yes, I do. And so she said, that's great, because all the sisters are taking their final vows this week, and each one of them, they're being missioned out to the four corners of the world for mission. And she said, we used to always bring in a priest this week to do like generational healing or something, but he couldn't come, so you can do it for us. So I said, okay. So I thought, what can I do? 40 or 50 sisters. So what I did was I got them all together the last night that I was there, I think around 6 or 7 o'clock, and I exposed the Blessed Sacrament in the monstrance, because I figured I couldn't meet with them one-on-one each. And I just did what Neil did after each talk at the conferences, where he did like very general renunciations, and I had told the sisters ahead of time to get ready some people they needed to forgive. And I just prayed the 5 keys with them in front of the Blessed Sacrament all together as a group. And then I prayed the Father's blessing over them. There were tears even in the group setting. And then you might call it a mistake or a grace or an act of generosity. Then I said the words, the famous words that did me in. I said, if there are any sisters here who think they need extra prayer, I don't want to say I regret saying it, but I said, I'll be in the sacristy if anyone wants to come, thinking maybe 2 or 3 need have a little more to get out. All of the sisters made a line around the convent, and they came in. I gave them 20 or 30 minutes each, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock, the Mother Superior came in and she said, are you okay, Father? She said, they're all still waiting for you. And I said, well, I'm flying tomorrow morning. I can sleep on the plane. I want to see every last one of them. And so... So they all went to sleep, and they wrote down the order that they were in line, and they were waking each other up to come see me. And I was nervous, and I just kept repeating to myself what I had read Neil say in the book. He said, you don't have to be an expert, you just have to be ready to love them, offer your faith, and God will do the rest. And I did that. 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. The last one finished, and I went to bed at 5 a.m., and I got up at 5:30 and said Mass for them. And they talk about that day as one of the greatest graces that they received. The Mother Superior wrote me a letter afterwards. When I got back home, I got her letter. She said, Father, it was as if Jesus himself visited us that day. And then she said, Father, did you realize the date? And she said it was December 8th, 2015. Well, there's more to it than that. December 8th, 2015, the opening day of the Year of Mercy. And she said this was God's gift of mercy for our whole community. So they talk about it as a grace, but I look back at it as one of the greatest graces of my life. It was God's crash course for me in Unbound. Because once I did that, I felt like I can do this with anyone now, because I've heard everything in one night. So just to finish up, I went home after that, and I told the people in the parish about it, and the floodgates opened. They started coming in droves. That was 2 years ago. The floodgates haven't closed. They're still coming non-stop and being set free. And every time I do a session, I see that butterfly out of the cocoon again. It's like watching Lazarus come out of the tomb. And I've learned, doing it in the parish, not to judge the success of my power to pray with them by what I see at the end. I had one woman who I really was convinced that I messed it up. She didn't talk to me for a month afterwards. I didn't see her. I thought maybe I did something wrong, maybe it didn't meet her expectations. I saw her in the parish school a month afterwards, and I went up to her just to ask her how she was doing since our Unbound session. She reached her hand in her shirt. She pulled out a necklace, and she had gone to a jeweler, and she had gotten carved in sterling silver December 15th, 2015. And she said, you know what that is, Father? That's the date of my Unbound session. And I wear it every day to remind myself of my Liberation Day, so I'll never forget. Yeah. So. So I do it with the people, and the sisters have me. I give 4 retreats a year to the sisters, 8-day retreats, so that brings me to many countries where I teach Unbound to the sisters. This year I went to Mexico and Kenya, and then in February I'll be going to Uzbekistan to bring Unbound to Uzbekistan to the sisters there. So I just want to say Unbound has been the greatest grace I've received in my entire priesthood. It's been the greatest grace for me personally because it set me free, and it's given me the chance to set many people free. And you know what we believe as Catholics? The priest is an alter Christus. He's another Christ. Before I knew Unbound, I believed that intellectually. Once I started doing Unbound, I felt what it meant to be another Christ, to set the world free. Please pray for me.